we've got an incredible guest today. She's a specialist when it comes to image optimization, and she handles a lot of the largest companies in the world. I mean, big brands, Fortune 100 brands. And her background is in marketing. And when I remember one of my big groups the other day, someone was like, "Hey, I need somebody to help me optimize my listing. Who should I go with? I'm tired of using these Fiverr people. I need someone that knows what they're doing." And her name was constantly over and over. This is the person. She's not the cheapest, but she's like the person to use. And so what you guys are getting to and gals are getting today on this call is like thousands of dollars worth of advice from one of the best in the business at doing this. So how you doing, Daniela?
I am doing well. I'm excited. All right, let's do it. We're going to jump right into it. So a little bit about Mindful Goods. We are the go-to creative team for better Amazon listings. We do listings, we do storefronts, but that is all we do day in and day out for Amazon brands. I recently just spoke at Amazon Accelerate. Amazon and I are becoming besties. We were invited to speak very last minute. I didn't even know we were speaking. They emailed me a month before and said, congratulations, you're speaking. And they invited two of our brands that we had worked with previously, which is amazing. The reason for that is because we love showing data-driven results and we love sharing those results with Amazon, and they wanted to share those results on stage. So that's why these brands were invited, as well as myself. A little bit about our team. We've been doing this 7 years. We've worked with over 500 brands, and we are verified through the Creative Services program. And our team is also all over the world, like I said. Some things that Amazon says about us is that we're the most gifted in the world at what we do. Some things that brands say about us is that we're an ideas machine. And they say all of these other amazing things, like our content is amazeballs and the numbers speak for themselves. And what we're better known for is creating really standout, show-stopping graphics like this. So this is an example of a storefront that we created for a brand. You can see that most brands don't really think this far ahead when they're designing. They don't even know that these functions are available to them for free. And there's a lot of brands that pay for advanced features and advanced landing pages on Amazon. Those brands are spending upwards of $1 million per year in advertising dollars. So they're getting access to really advanced things that they can do on those landing pages, where most sellers actually have access to do really cool things like this today. Here's another example of some storefronts that we've created and some A+ content. Just to show you guys why you should be listening to this webinar. This is one of the brands we worked with in the last couple months. In 30 days, they saw a almost 2,500% increase in sales across their entire catalog. And they saw a 1,000% increase on a specific SKU that was their most challenging SKU in their entire catalog. So, and this is a brand that was already dominating the market. Like, they are the number one or number two brand in frozen for their niche. And we were able to increase their market share tremendously. And this is with the 3-step process I'm going to show you guys today. Another brand that is in the fashion category does kids pajamas, and that's not something we typically do. Most of our work is in CPG, food type products or consumable type products in various different categories. But this brand owner just came to us and said, you know what, like, we want to go the branded direction. We understand the value of investing in branded content. Can you please help us? And we really believed, like, let's give it a shot, you know? And I did not anticipate that he would see this high of an increase in sales, but he saw a 1,752% increase in sale across his entire catalog. This is a brand that we work with, and they stocked out actually while we were in the middle of updating all their content. They were running out of product, and they were like just in that phase where everyone's really scared, where you're going to lose all your sales. You're afraid if you're not going to be able to get it back. And I think they had, of all their SKUs, like, they were just down to like the very last one. And then we refreshed the content and brought all the sales back, and they still saw a 40% increase in sales. They would have seen way more than this had they not stocked out. But just to even see an increase in sales when you're nearly stocking out is, in my mind, that was shocking, because we don't really see that. And it's a testament to refreshing your content for sure. This is another brand we worked with, Iwi Life in the supplements category. So this is working across multiple categories. It's not just food brands. It's supplement brands. It's that fashion brand that I mentioned. Like, this content is working. And specifically, when we talk about refreshing content, 80% of the brands that we work with to date are seeing increases in sales. 60% of those are seeing anywhere from 20% to 1,000% increase in sales within 30 days of uploading. And our highest to date is that example that I showed you, which is that 2,500%. So how are we going to do this? What are we talking about today? It's a 3-step process for optimizing Amazon listings. And I think oftentimes the conversation is so much around PPC. And so my goal with this is to help you guys understand that there's 2 steps to optimizing on Amazon and growing on Amazon in general. The first step is optimizing your listing, and that's through your SEO and your visual imagery. And the second step is then once that is working for you and you've tested it and you see that conversions are there, then you want to be driving traffic. And I think oftentimes that's reversed. Brands launch and they copy their imagery from Shopify, or they upload things that are just not quite ready. And then they immediately turn on PPC and they have all this wasted ad spend. Whereas if we just take a beat and think through the imagery that we're uploading, we can actually save ourselves a lot of money in the process. So how do we do that? We need to start thinking about the Amazon journey. And obviously this is going to change, right? With AI and everything that's changing with Rufus and Cosmo and all of these buzzwords that we're throwing around right now. But today we know this is still working. So I'm not getting distracted by shiny objects. Like I said, one of our top performances was in the last couple months. So this is still effective today. And I encourage everyone to just go back to basics and listen to these steps. I made it so simple in this presentation so that everybody can take away something and start implementing this. There's 3 steps. People search, they find the item in the search results, they click to go into the listing, and then they buy. That is the journey in a nutshell on Amazon. Now, another way to look at this is through a funnel, right? So if we think about any sort of e-commerce business, they're driving traffic top of search, meaning a lot of people are coming in, less people are clicking to go into your listing, and even less people are buying once they're in there. So if these are the 3 steps in the journey, then we have to have 3 goals in the journey. So we want to get found in the search, we want to get clicks in this section, and we want to get sales. So if we look at this yet another way, we get found through SEO and our offer, we get clicks through eye-catching main images, and then we get sales through compelling content. And specifically, if you can focus on your SEO first, you can see what we're seeing with clients is up to 600% increase in sales. Then focus on your main images. You can see up to 160% increase in sales, but very, very, very high, you'll see higher increases in your click-through rate with this step. I'm mentioning sales because that's how we track everything at Mindful Goods. And then the third step here is once you've gotten found, once they've clicked to come into your listing and you've stolen that market share from your competitors with your amazing main image, then how do we get them to convert once they're in there? We need to have amazing product images and amazing A+ content. And with that, you can see up to 1,000% increase in sales. Everything together done well is where you're going to see up to 2,500% increase in sales. So these are the 3 steps. Now, if I break down this first step, what I thought would be more important to show everyone, because I feel like there's a million tutorials online about all the best practices for how to build your titles, how to build your bullets. I just want to show you what we're doing today and what I think everyone can take and do today and learn from. And the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, have I included the most relevant keywords for that product that might be used to discover my product? And so we all know doing research in Helium 10, we can find the estimates of search volume for the keywords that we're going after, right? So we want to first build our master keyword list the way that we would with Helium 10. The next thing we want to do is write out your copy in the form of a framework. Most people have seen something like this, but it's basically thinking through what's your brand, what's your product type, what's the feature I want to mention, what's the scent, what's the flavor, what's the size. And it's broken down by category, right? These are the things we want to be thinking through. Then we want to infuse the keywords throughout this copy. So what that might look like is something like this. This is the first step in what I recommend doing. So you have your, I'm going to skip ahead here. This is what it might end up looking like once you have come up with your titles, right? So I always recommend creating a minimum of 2 titles. You're going to write them out just as you would from this framework. And then you're going to infuse your keywords and you're going to set up multiple options. Once you have that, you're going to pop it into some sort of calculator. So this is something that we have been doing for years. We basically put in the brand name, put in the product type. So it's this calculator is actually all of this formatting put into one spreadsheet. And if anybody wants this calculator, I have it built into a spreadsheet. I can share it as like a bonus item for this webinar. And you'll just basically pop in all your keywords, pop in all your text that you want to use in your title. And then you'll go and look up the search volume for any keywords that you added and you'll pop it into here. And then what it'll give you is your total search volume for that title. And so what we want to look at is if we have these 2 titles, we want to break them down. This is title 1 and this is title 2. Which one of these titles would you test first? If you're looking at this and you're breaking down the search volume for these keywords, and you see that this one has a potential reach of 30,000 and this one only has a potential reach of 4,000, I know which one I'm going to be testing first is going to be this one. And so that's the way we think about title testing and bullet testing. It's let's write it out. Let's be strategic about the keywords we're putting in there. It has to make sense. We don't want to be keyword stuffing, but we want to try to think through what the most important keywords are. And then we want to run that in a split test on manager experiments. So the reason why this step is so important is, like I said, it's what helps you get found. It's what's going to help you show up more in the search results. And that is the very first step of this process. So that's why this step matters so much. Once you have done that, and like I said, that first step can get you an increase of 600% increase in sales. So that's why I think it's the lightest lift. It's the easiest thing to focus on. And that's number one, what you should be focusing on first. The second step, and you might be tempted because if you look at this, you might say, why would I focus on main image? Why don't I just then focus on my product images and my A+ content? The reason why you want to focus on your main image next is because just because you're showing up in search doesn't mean anybody's coming in. If they're not even inside your listing, then how are you going to sell them in the first place? So we got to focus on our main images second. The other second reason why you would focus on your main images second is because it's the next lightest lift. It is the next easiest thing to focus on and get right in that process. So we definitely want to stand out in those search results. And I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. So these are the things we want to be thinking through. Removing white space, adding eye candy, consider a photo versus a render, add keyword callouts, and then split test, split test, split test. So what you should be asking yourself here is this where my product belongs in the search results? And is my offer competitive? If the answer is yes, I can move on to how can I stand out, right? And that's where we come in. This is how you stand out. This is an example of main images that were created to stand out from the competition on Amazon. Every single one of these are main images that we created for our clients to make sure that they're standing out in the search results. And if you go look at these and go look at the competitors in their set, their competitors real quickly realize what we're doing and start to change their main images and try to catch up. But brands like this are always testing main images. So in some cases, it's really hard to catch up. Even a company like Super Coffee, since we worked with them, they've probably done 50 different iterations of main images. But it's so simple to do. It's not something that you have to think of as such a heavy task. You should be doing this frequently. So removing white space will look like this. This is why this one is so important. If you have a product that is not filling up all the space inside of your image, it's going to look smaller than all of the competition. So that's rule number one. Step number two is adding eye candy. So if you go look at these, every single one of these has like different elements going on. They have these ingredients on the side. They have the coffee cup. They have the dog food popping out of the top. We have this green thing in the background. We have the pot stickers coming into frame. We have the apples on the side. We have the product laid out in the front. We have the capsules laid out in front. We have arms coming out. Like, this to me is what I call eye candy. The next thing is considering a photo versus a render. So if you look at this here, this is a photo. There's a lot of products that are really hard to capture with a photo. And this was done by a high-end photography studio. The challenge is the label was really hard to read. So we had the client revise the label. The photo had like a glare when it was taken. So it's just really hard to read. It came out really pixelated because the font's really small. And it's just not ideal for Amazon. And so we said, okay, let's take the label. Let's just make a render. This is how crispy and clean a render can look. And so technically in the creative guidelines for Amazon, Amazon says you shouldn't be doing renders, but there's certain categories where 95% of what you see is a render. And I think we can interpret from this that it's not that Amazon doesn't want renders. They don't want low quality renders. You don't want something that's deceiving the customer, or just a really bad quality. We want to be thinking through, how do we make this easier for the customer experience? And I guarantee you, if they see this one versus this one, they're going to go with this one all day. This one you can actually read. It's rose gold face oil. This one you can't even read what it is. And then the third piece is just to show you what it looks like when you add a little bit of interest, add a little bit of eye candy. The next step after you've done this, or actually the one that's missing here, is the keyword call out. So this right here is a keyword call out. You can use this real estate to your advantage. If you look at these other images here, you can see this is a keyword call out. This is showing a 20 pack, 36. Numbers really get attention. 100% handmade, variety 3-pack, 0 grams of sugar. Like, these are all things that you can call out. They can either be intent related keywords, or they can be things that you know the shopper needs to see before they're going to click into your listing. So for instance, if I was selling a snack pack, like a 30 pack of snacks for kids when they go to school, the little mini packs, I would want to say 20 pack variety pack or 30 pack variety pack, so that the mom really quickly from that view in the search, they can see that that's the variety pack that they're looking for, because they don't want to go and click into all the listings that have the full size bags. They're just trying to get their kids snacks and move on with their day. So however we look at main images, it's like, give the people the information they need so that they can just be like, boop, that's what I'm looking for. I got their attention. Yes, it has exactly what I need. Click. So we're going to be thinking through that. And anything that you might think through is okay. It's a hypothesis, right? When we did this image right here for Yes Bar, we didn't have the word vegan right here. It might have been on some of the flavors, but it wasn't as legible. And when we went through split testing, we realized that a lot of people were asking, is this flavor vegan? I'm not sure. And we were like, great, let's make vegan big and bold. And people didn't know how many snack bars were coming in here. So we're like, let's make the 6 bars really big and a different color so that it pops and it grabs your attention. So you can see there, that a lot of these images are pulling in all of these different effects into one image. We have eye candy, we have keyword call out, we have different types of orientations to understand which is going to get more attention. And just by throwing them into a quick PickFu poll, you can see which one the winner is. The thing I want to note here is that this is not a set and forget process. It's not like you could just come up with one image and test it and it performs great and then you move on. The idea here is there's infinite things that you could be testing on that main image. Just because you found a winning one doesn't mean you can't find 10 more that'll beat your original winning one, So go for those incremental gains over time and set a goal for yourself to have a new main image maybe every quarter that you can test so that you can try to beat out your original main image. And if you don't, that's okay too, but at least you're trying, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you ahead of the competition. This is to show you what happened when we did that split test with PickFu. This is Brennan, one of the founders of Yes Bar, and they had come to us actually during COVID. And like many brands, they were kind of frantic. All their retail stores were closing, so they had to, really focus on Amazon and get it right. And so the quickest thing that we did, we were like, okay, let's fix the copy and let's test that. Let's fix the main images. Let's test that. We went through rapid fire testing on their main image. And that image that I showed you increased their click-through rate by 11.8% within 2 weeks. So these are very easy results to achieve if you just follow these steps. And then to see it all in action together, here's an example of the different versions that we came up with for Super Coffee. You can see that there's 0 grams of sugar, really big for these keyword callouts, 80 calories. We changed the bottle orientation from this one, put chocolate on the side as eye candy. Here we have the ingredients on the side as eye candy. The 0 sugar is called out in a different way. Here on top of the boxes, we added some more callouts. So there's multiple different ways that you can play with this, and you might see different trends come up over time that you might want to test as you're seeing things in search change. So always be testing. Step 3, once you've gotten people to find your product, you've gotten them to click into your listing, how do we get them to convert? How do we get them to buy your product? And so at this point, you should be asking yourself, do I have super pointy content that answers the main questions that my customers have? And so if I say this another way, what are the 5 most important selling points that you need to answer immediately in a visual way so that the customer can just check it off in their mind? If the customer is looking for something, they for sure have 3 to 5 things. They need to check it off in their mind. And if you can just show it to them and say it to them in an image, that's the quickest way to get them to check it off. And so the reason why this is so important is that Amazon themselves reports that A+ content can lift sales by 5%. Like I said, we're seeing up to 1,000% with A+ content. DataHawk had published a study across all of their brands saying that going from no A+ content to having A+ content, you can see sales conversion lifts of anywhere from 72 to 210%. And what we're seeing is brands going from basic A+ content to premium A+ content are seeing upwards of 600% increase in sales. And the last piece of information is that 90% of what we take in as humans is visual. That's why in this webinar, I have made sure to show you visual examples so you guys can really understand what I mean when I'm saying things. Because if I just sit here and I'm a talking head, you're not going to understand what I'm even talking about unless you see a visual example of what I'm referring to when I say eye candy. So that's why as we're building our listings, we need to do the same thing with shoppers. We need to guide them through that process and make sure that we're checking off that list for them. So my top tips for this is 1, basic is blending. So attention is the game. You need to keep their attention throughout. We are in the TikTok generation where we only have 2 seconds and we are moving on. So something like this is just not going to cut it. This is one of our top case studies on our website as well. And this is one of the brands that was invited to speak at Amazon Accelerate. This is what they were working with on Amazon. This is what they were selling with on Amazon. It was just a few pictures of the bottle and a picture of a plate of Thai food. This is not going to sell anybody. And so we want to think way beyond this. We want to think through color. We want to think through different callouts. Make sure every single image here serves a function and is showing and telling one thing. You also notice color blocking going on throughout this. So it's not just one color. When we are shopping and we see, especially on desktop, but we know most shopping is on mobile, but if we're on desktop and we see the little carousel of the product images on the left, if you see all the same color, you're less excited to get through all of them. If you know that there's some mixing of colors, you're like, ooh, and you just keep wanting to look through all of them, right? So that's just a little pro tip you can throw in there. But the main point of this is every single image needs to show and tell and serve a function. So here's an example of showing and telling on a bunch of different product images in different categories as well. You notice they're formatted differently. Some are more infographic in style. Some are showing more of the iconography. So there's lots of different ways that you can present your information. And the main important thing that you need to do in the beginning is just come up with the hypothesis of your top 3 to 5 selling points. Make sure every image is tackling one of those items. And if you can do that, anything you do beyond that is going to just make it incrementally better. The hardest lift is just getting all of it done right the first time. And then you can think through, okay, I have this image showing that if they mix and match, they get 10% off. What if I presented that in a different way? Will my listing perform better? Like that's a more advanced type of testing that you would do later. But what most brands are not getting right today is thinking through their image set in its totality and making sure that it's telling a cohesive story stop to finish. So Here we are looking at a render versus a photo combination. A lot of times when brands are launching, they don't have high-end photography. With AI, this is becoming easier and easier. With options like Suna, you can ship your product to Suna, have them take awesome photography that feels very Instagram-like. But sometimes brands don't have that, so they launch with renders. If you do all renders across the board, people are going to know. And it's just this subconscious thing that we know. Like, we know that this is not a real product, and we're like, it's like kind of a turnoff in a subconscious way. And so you're losing people, you're losing that trust. What we want to do is at least have a blend. Like, it soon as like $39 an image, it costs nothing. Like, get some images done of your product, mix and match with different types of imagery of what you have to make it come across more authentic. And you can have something like this. You can pull in stock photography like this. Even with AI now, you could even make an image like this and have the product sitting in this guy's hand. But you'll notice every single image is kind of showing and telling again. And it has a mix of the original renders with some photos mixed in of the founders with some stock imagery. So there's lots of different things you could do here. Another thing is outdated content. If you started selling more than 5 years ago, it's definitely time to refresh your content if you haven't already. This is a brand that came to us and they were really selling incredibly well, but they were selling so well that they had just never updated their content, and they saw people coming into the space. And so this is where people can come in, steal market share, and it was just time to refresh. And so without rebranding it or anything, it's just thinking through, how do we give this a fresher look so it feels like the same brand? And so that's what we did here. The other interesting thing that they did is, because they had so much data, we were able to parse out that they had a younger demographic that used it for one specific use case, and they had an older demographic using it for a different use case. And so we were able to use different images of different age demographics in the different listings as they spun up different listings to tackle different use cases. So this is a fun one. Again, very simple, creative content that is showing and telling on every single image. It's fresher. It's brought in new photography. It's not, it's not basically just sticking with what you have. It's thinking through, how do we stick to our brand, but make it more fresh, right? And so that's what our goal was with this. And this last one, I think, is like super common. I see this day in and day out, that brands maybe have gone to Fiverr and they get quick content. Yes, Fiverr can turn it around in a day, but what you're getting is generic content that looks like everyone else's. And it's not going to be the thing that separates you from the pack. And it might be costing you sales, because people are going to lose trust. They're going to wonder, like, where is this product from? Is this a trustworthy brand? Is it just going to, like, people are really sensitive to that, especially with pet supplements. They want to know if it's made in the US. So these are things that, like, you really want to convey trust with certain products, especially. And this is one of them. So you can see here, we kind of just brought in a branded look, and that every single image is very clear to read. Every single image has a function. This one's an us versus them. This is showing the ingredients. This is showing how many they need to take. Like, there's a function behind every single image. So if I'm a shopper, I'm going through these images and I'm like, okay, those ingredients look good. I'm like, ooh, dry, sensitive skin. That's what my dog has. Check. Oh, great. This is good for my dog size. Perfect. He's 10 pounds. Done. I'm just like, add it to cart, right? Like, that's the kind of thing we need to be thinking through. And the most important one is that it's mobile friendly. So we want to make sure that our images are easy to read at a glance, very quickly, and for every age that's out there. So something like this, you can see it's very pixelated. Nobody's going to be clicking to read something like this. It's like barely legible. And there's just like so much going on, and also nothing going on at the same time. So like, this is never going to sell anything, right? So we need to really make everything as easy to read from a mobile perspective. And if you look at this, all of these headers at the top are like super big and bold to read. Even this font is like not even the easiest font to read, but you can read it because it's just so big on these images. And then if people want to know more about the product, they have the sub font here and even this smaller font here for the ingredients. So everything is very clear, very simple to read. Everything is reduced to just like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Like we're not having too many things that people are trying to digest at once. It's just very, very simple, easy to read content, getting through our main selling points. And the biggest missed opportunity that I see is for brands that only have a couple images. They're not using 6 images. And I think everyone here knows that, but I just wanted to repeat that because we still see this today. So just make sure that you're building out all of your imagery and thinking through like what your customers really want to know front and center. This is kind of a bonus item for everyone here. You can pause the video if you're watching the replay, take a screenshot, and this will help you try to figure out what images to tell your designer to make. Look through your imagery that you have and try to understand, okay, what type of lifestyle images can I do here? Can I show the product in use? Can I show it on the go? Is it important to show the packaging? Or do we want to show a size comparison? You can check off multiple boxes. It just helps you communicate this to your designer. But these are the most popular images for conversion that we create. And we use this templated system to build this out for our clients after looking at the data for their products. So we'll pull their PPC reports, their search query reports, we'll pull any analytics that they have, any data, and we'll just kind of review everything. We pull Helium 10 data and we review everything together to understand, okay, what do we know that people are talking about in the reviews? What do we know that from the consumer insights? What do we know about this product? And how do we visually tell that story? And this is the imagery that helps us do that. Beyond that, you want to layer on badges for trust. And so we work with a lot of food brands. We kind of broke them out for food, but there's all kinds of badges that you can add for if you have awards, if you have a special design, if you have something that's reusable. You want to think through all of the different things that might be better called out in a badge versus listed as text. The badge is going to be a subconscious way to grab attention and build trust in the buying process. We talked about basic and then going to premium, but for me, this is a 500K opportunity. I have a client that is paying $500,000 for premium A+ content today, right now, for one ASIN. And again, this is free for Seller Central brands. We don't know if Amazon's going to give it to brands for free forever, if it's just going to become the new norm and they're going to phase out basic, but I highly recommend making the switch for multiple different reasons. But it's one of the biggest reasons is that it's going to help you convert better on mobile, and that's where a majority of the shopping is happening. Other reasons is that it's going to give you more interactivity with hotspots, video, carousel options, full width, and seamless scroll. So right now, with your basic A+ content, it doesn't go full width, and you're limited in the actual options that you can do. It's not very interactive. It's like the 1.0 of A+ content. And when you go to premium, you get all of these advanced features, which just makes it way more engaging, and it increases your dwell time, which we know that Amazon is tracking all of this. So the longer we can keep people on our pages and engaged and clicking things and scrolling, the higher the likelihood that they're going to convert. So again, looking at something like this, which is the old way of doing basic A+ content, it's going to be text heavy, obviously loaded with keywords, but all of those keywords you can still put into this premium A+ content on the back end. So it's much more easy to digest the visual content, and you'll have your keywords in the alt text on the back end. And the main keywords that you're going to be going after, you should be building into your title and your bullets anyways. So really, Amazon has said since day one, the intent of even basic A+ content was a visual landscape. It wasn't to have all of this text built out. Nobody is reading this much text. I can guarantee you, as soon as they hit that and they see all the text, they're like, boop, I'm out of here, or I'm going to the reviews. Like, I'm not interested in reading this much text. What I want is, again, to answer the questions that I have in my mind, and here I'm easily answering them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every banner serves one function. Just make sure you keep it clean and keep focused on that. But what you'll notice here is you get this really big scroll stopping landing page And what you can't see from this is that these banners, they go all the way to the right side of the page and the left side of the page. So when you're scrolling, it really does take over the full screen on mobile and desktop. It is the best way to stop the scroll. But really quick, we'll touch on storefronts, because another thing that we see is that focusing on your product pages is the first thing and the most important thing. But the next thing you want to do is then optimize your storefront, because you're getting free traffic from Google anyways, and you will get additional sales if you optimize there. So it is the next best thing. It's the only space with zero ads. It's getting that free Google traffic, and then you have total control over your storytelling. So if you're driving ads straight to your storefront, you don't have all of these other competitors advertising on your storefront. So you could essentially build out your own landing pages in there just for conversion. So that can be its own strategy in itself. And we have loads of examples of this on our website. So we'll go through a few examples here. This is something that we did share in the other webinar, but just so that everybody can get their A+ content tips on this webinar as well. These are the top best practices for conversion. One, we prioritize a strategy of branding, cross-selling, and storytelling. So we want to think through the visual elements of our brand. How are we cross-selling in our content if we have a catalog of product? And then what is the story that we're trying to tell in terms of those main selling points? Second, we're designing for the seamless scroll. So if you look at these, they're all designed and meant to flow top to bottom like a landing page. We're not designing in that old way anymore. We're designing like a landing page top to bottom. The next thing that we do, and we're designing a specific set of content for desktop and then reformatting that for mobile. That is super, super crucial, because that's where you're going to get those gains on your conversion. The next thing is making sure that we're mixing different compelling lifestyle imagery with close-up shots with product in use. Product in use is the #1 best performing type of image on Amazon. So every single product should have a product in use no matter what. Keep text minimal, large headers, strong pointy messaging. And then lastly, add carousels and video whenever possible. What we've noticed is most of our high performing content does include carousels. Some of it does include video, some of it doesn't, depending on what the brand has. But at this point in time, it's so easy to get videos done by influencers or create little branded videos. It's not hard. I almost think those come across as more authentic now anyways. So don't go out and spend $10,000, $20,000 on a branded video when you can be testing short form UGC content on your A+ content rather easily. I would be focusing more in that area, so you can be refreshing that content over time and seeing what videos are going to help you perform better. You could be testing it on TikTok, take the viral video from TikTok, drop it into your A+. And then just to walk through some quick examples, again, we want this that's on the right, not what's on the left. This what's on the right, not what's on the left. This what's on the right, not what's on the left. Really, we want to be thinking through creating that engaging experience for shoppers and getting that time back for yourself, getting that dwell time up so that you can increase your likelihood to convert. And as promised, unlocking premium A+ content. If you click here, I have a video showing you exactly what to click in your account. But essentially, there's 2 steps. One, you have to have brand story applied to every ASIN. So you have to be brand registered. Create a brand story. You don't need to have a super crazy design like the ones we have. You can just upload a background image, like even a lifestyle image, and a front image, and just submit it. And that will get approved as your brand story. You can fix it and make it designed pretty later. Make sure it's applied to every ASIN, even the ones that are not active on your account. And then in your A+ content, you're going to go into whatever A+ content you have. Hopefully you have something. If you don't have anything, again, you don't need to design it. Just use one image as a banner image and submit that. And then you can go and design something pretty later. But this is just to get you to unlock premium A+ so you get access to it. You'll get one submission approved in your A+. If you have A+ right now, you do not need to edit anything. You do not need to change anything. This is a big misconception. The only thing you have to do is click duplicate, submit, duplicate, submit, duplicate, submit, and do that 5 times, and that should unlock premium A+. We have done this over 100 times this year. It works for every brand. We've only had maybe 4 brands that were not able to unlock it, and that's because they had multiple brands on their account. So we had to reach out to Amazon to help, but they unlocked it in every single instance. So it is absolutely free for everybody. Highly recommend that everyone goes and unlocks it today.